What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over the latest updates, data points, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close in the green, 0.4%, 27.10 the low, 27.62 the high, and 35 million shares being traded. So rather low volume. Today, we did actually see a lot of good optimism, a lot of good buys during the pre-market, but as soon as the market did open, it just lagged. For the most part throughout the whole day, in fact, up until this point right here where a lot of institutions started to really push SoFi higher. But in my opinion, one main reason why SoFi did kind of lag had nothing really to do with them because they didn't put out any news, no SEC filings. Anthony didn't really say anything on social media, but rather this. So JP Morgan considers crypto trading offering for institutional clients. So clearly, just maybe a little bit more competition. I know SoFi has been putting out a hell of a lot of things in regards to crypto, so maybe just possibly that caused SoFi to lag a little bit because SoFi did underperform a lot of the other fintechs today. Aside from that, there really wasn't any macro data that came out today worth kind of noting. Aside from that, we did have UBS, no different than JPM recently, coming out saying that we should be seeing a nice good rally into the end of 2025 going into 2026. This was their kind of explanation right here. They did put down here that it should be going to roughly around 7,700 by the end of 2026. Just to put it in perspective, right now we're sitting at about 6,800. So in general, a lot of higher highs are anticipated, and especially in SoFi's case, with them focusing so much on cryptocurrency, I think 2026 is going to be fairly huge. Like I said, nothing really coming out associated to SoFi officially. Unofficially, this was posted by SoFi Insider. And so this one kind of stood out to me because I've actually done kind of research on Western Union in the past, but there seems to be something happening. So looks like on LinkedIn, a lot of individuals who previously worked at Western Union all seem to have moved over. So it looks like they kind of poached a whole team for AML, so anti-money laundering, I believe. So yeah, they pretty much poached a whole team from Western Union, which is rather interesting because if you actually look at the timing, it's all April 2025. I listened to Western Union's last earnings and they actually kind of mentioned about having a lag in kind of staffing. So kind of funny. SoFi is the culprit of that. But yeah, definitely goes to show that there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes with SoFi. Looking at shorts, they did return about 23,000 shares. So not all that much in reality. 9.09% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 112.5 million shares overall being shorted. Just looking at here at the teal line, at the peak, they were increasing roughly around 630,000 shares. So still not that much considering, as I mentioned, 35 million shares were kind of traded today. As no different than the last couple trading days that I've done SoFi videos on, most of the volume has actually come from algorithmic trading, and you can see that right here. So a lot of the smaller transactions completely blowing everything out of the water. That being said, though, you still did see some good transactions near the second half of the day. As I mentioned, we had this nice push higher right here, and that was institutions buying. $1 million question is why? I'm not really sure. I didn't see any news to really justify this kind of push higher. We are nearing the end of Q4, so you might be seeing some institutions kind of rebalancing and so forth. But these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market today, most of which were buys and just done after hours. So 70.6 million, 21.9, 13.7, 12.3, 6.5, so a lot of big institutional transactions. Again, kind of looking at the timestamp, all near the end of the day. On the dark pool, we had a even $10 million transaction, and then the rest were ones. So definitely goes to show that 370 most likely was a hedge fund, and that was done roughly around 141. So that caused another nice push higher. But aside from that, $1 million question is why? So maybe there was and is some news that's coming out. I do believe Trump's actually doing some speech I think it's at 430, correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe some institutions are getting in because of that. But aside from that, moving on, looking at the options, kind of low dollar value. So 25 million in calls, 14 in puts. Net premiums did go down about 3.5 million. 42% of all the options being done were bearish in nature, but most of that was actually done in the first half of the trading day. So maybe they were anticipating SoFi to lag, or possibly whoever was the culprits that caused SoFi to lag, maybe they are the ones that's kind of buying the bearish options. From a bull standpoint though, you still do see a good consensus for it to be roughly around that 28.50 to 29. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 27. So given where we are at, there is definitely more upside than down. With it closing at 27.35, it is trading between these 2 points, so this R1 and the pivot. 26.63 is going to be a strong support. I'm looking at the 1-day chart on a side note, so these are very strong support and resistance points. So more kind of for the broader week just to kind of watch. So 26.63 and then 27.51. So SoFi actually did push a little bit higher than that point right here. So I wouldn't really consider that a very, very strong target or resistance point, but still just kind of watch for that. So 27.51 followed by 28.05. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart itself, there really wasn't that much in articles you can kind of see, but it's interesting now. So you're seeing some articles come out just generally talking about cryptocurrency, but they are now tagging SoFi. So clearly in the eyes of Wall Street, they see SoFi a part of now the crypto field. So yeah, kind of interesting stuff. Definitely good to see. Today we did hold above that 100-day moving average, and looking at the market position, you see a lot more willing buyers. So it's not far-fetched to assume that SoFi could easily get above that 50-day moving average and kind of move to this point, so the $29 range or high 28s. That's where you see another strong wall. So assuming GDP comes out tomorrow like on point, then in theory, like I said, 29, possibly even higher is on the table. There really hasn't been that much in analyst ratings. The last one was Morgan Stanley. That was a $18 sell, which interestingly enough, I don't remember seeing that on tip ranks, or even when I did my weekend video, I didn't see that one pop up. So maybe it was posted late or something along those lines. But aside from that though, that is from Jeffrey. And so you can kind of see a lot of his recent ones. So September the 29th was also at 18, July the 30th, it was 13, July the 10th, $11 rating. So nonetheless, I think just SoFi should be really moving higher. Just for whatever reason, it kind of lagged, but you did see a lot of good institutional transactions. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Did you buy? Are you selling? Hopefully everyone had an amazing weekend. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile too. Pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.